This is News on Sierra Leone Broadcasting Corporation. I am Rita Dukure. Good afternoon. Coming up, presidential spokesman explains why President Bio ordered for the return of Bemba Moiferi back to jail. Residents of mining communities in Kono complain of a frequent armed robbery. And we highlight some of the eye-catching goal celebrations at the AFCON 2021 tournament. These and more stories are in this edition of News Hour, but first, our coronavirus preventive message.
You see where them people here wear the mask then fine? Well, now so you say for wear your mask. Cover your nose and you much all them where you dey near other person.
Get yourself vaccinated, mask up and stay safe. The 2022 Presidential Pardon or Prerogative of Mercy featured about 160 inmates, and amongst them was Bemba Moifori aka LEC, who was convicted in 2016 for the brutal murder of Sydney Boko, commonly known as a DJ Clef. Mr. Moifori's release has since provoked huge public outcry after serving only 5 years in prison. However, a press release from the State House on Monday has cancelled his presidential pardon, and an investigation has been instituted into the process that led to the release. In this interview, Daphne Kemamakoli first asked presidential spokesman Yusuf Keketo Masandi why did the president decide to revoke Bemba Moiferi's pardon.
Now, tell us, why did the president decide to revoke the decision to pardon the prisoner Bemba Moiferi?
Well, the Constitution provides in Section 63, subsection 1, that the President should exercise prerogative of mercy on the advice of a committee on those who should be granted this particular mercy, pardon. Now, when that process is being set in motion, it's on the presumption of regularity, as lawyers will say, which means that everything which should happen on that advice that should be given to the president should be based on things which are regular, that the process should not be flawed, that the process should not have any concerns. And therefore, once things emerge that demonstrate their concerns, that demonstrate that the process has been irregular, and therefore it's right and proper for the president to revoke the pardon that he has granted to Bemba Moiferi.
Okay, so in other words, you're saying that the president actually listened to the cry of the people?
Well, it's a combination of both. In the first place, like I said to you, that advice, when it's been given to the president, is given on the basis of presumption of regularity. That means that the mercy committee, when they met, they followed the due process, that there were no concerns and no irregularity. But also you remember that once the announcement was made, that there was an outcry from the public. And the president is servant of the people. The Constitution vests into him power, but that power emanates from the people. So therefore, he takes decisions, and those decisions, they have consequences. And if there's an outcry, president would listen. And therefore, he listened, and then he paused, and then he looked at the process, and then he realized that that process was flawed, there were irregularities within the process, and therefore he's now instituting an investigation to look into the process specifically for the grant of the pardon that was given to Bemba Moiferi. But you also have to put into context that for the 1st of January 2020 this year, the president received about 160 inmate list. Now, out of about 160 inmates, they recommended that 117 of them should be commuted from death penalty to life in prison, and only 43 were meant to be granted pardon, to be free. So, but is that 43 that's where Bemba Moiferi fell into, and then the president realized that the process had been irregular, and therefore he wanted an investigation.
We all know the Vice President is part of the Mercy Committee that made a decision to pardon the prisoner. What was the role of the Vice President?
Well, it's a committee that's chaired by the Vice President, but that based on my understanding on this occasion, I think in the last meeting that was held where the list was confirmed, the Vice President did not chair that meeting. It was chaired by the Attorney General and Minister of Justice.
Now that President has invoked a decision, is there going to be a committee that will start investigation?
Well, not a committee per se. Yes, the investigation will be led by a renowned lawyer who has been in public service, and the Executive President is now in discussion and conversation with the person that will lead that investigation. But once it is finalized, the public will know who is going to lead that investigation, and it's going to be quick and swift, because the point also is about whether we should learn the lessons for future, so at least we don't be in a position where you have a process which is irregular and flawed. Because remember that once the president is elected to serve, and there are many decisions that he takes as a president, most of those decisions are based on the advice of a committee or a particular person. And you almost want to think that when that responsibility is entrusted into a committee or a particular person, they should do that with due diligence, they should do that with good conscience, because at the end of the day, the president has to serve what is the best of the Republic of Sierra Leone and our people. And remember, with prerogative of mercy, when somebody commits an offense, there's a victim. And in this case, once you take a decision to release a convict from prisons, they come out, they have to reintegrate to society. So you also want to strike a balance between those families which have been hurt by the offense which have been created, to make sure that whatever you are doing, the person is coming out back, you have to make sure they integrate society and they be better people. And that is why normally the tradition for the mercy committee is that only people who have low remaining sentences, so for instance like 2 months, 4 months remaining on their sentences, are people who are granted that pardon.
Yeah, but was that considered during the decision by the mercy committee? Because for what I know, LSC has more than 10 years in prison.
But that's why the investigation has been instituted, to know why his name was on the list, who put his name on the list, whether there was a procedure that was followed, because section 63 subsection 2 also provides for people who have been on death penalty what should follow, what's the procedure that should be. So that's why the investigation has been instituted. And that investigation now will now look into the reasons why, who did what happened, what transpired. And obviously, I don't want to prejudice the outcome of the investigation.
In simple terms, tell us what are the criteria for president to pardon a prisoner?
When I spoke to one member of the committee, he said to me that normally the tradition, like I said before, is that only people who have lower sentencing time left. So for instance, if somebody was in prison, probably let's say for instance 10 years, and then they've served, and only 2, 3 months or 4 months remaining, and then that person will be released. Now the whole purpose is to make sure that those people benefit from that pardon when they come out from prisons, they need to get back to society, they be better persons, you know. But obviously, based on what has transpired, it has appeared that LA Chocolate or Bimba Moifoe did not meet some of those criteria.
Now, is it to the knowledge that, or it is alleged that Bimba Moifoe has left the country?
I cannot comment on gossip, as you know. I don't have any facts with me. But what I will tell you, and reassure the people of Sierra Leone, is that once that revocation had taken place yesterday, the law enforcement agencies, the Sierra Leone police, the correctional services, they are now being they are now being put to action for them to see how we can get Bimba Moifoe back to go to prison.
So what if it's true that he has actually left the country?
Well, there are many ways to get people who obviously are convicts. There are international processes, you can go through Interpol, you know. There are processes to see how they can get convicts. People are wanted by law enforcement agencies around the country, around the world.
Moving away from that, celebrations have become synonymous with football players after scoring goals, either in their different football clubs or for their national teams. There are different inspiring ways they express the joy they feel inside, which in most cases supporters copy the gestures. The African Cup of Nations 2021 in Cameroon is no exception, with the group phase already drawing to a close. Mohamed Touré takes a look at some of the celebrations.
Sangare. Well, he's claiming he was hurt, but it's down to the error that Sierra.
Some players have their own unique way of celebrating after scoring a goal. However, some footballers will simply decide not to celebrate after scoring a goal for some reasons best known to them. Celebrations sometimes always signify what players want to communicate to the world. These gestures do provoke mixed feelings and responses from the fans. The fans sometimes are left confused by the outburst. The African Cup of Nations is no exception. Football fans on the continent have already seen spectacular celebrations so far. Celebration after scoring a goal in football is as old as the game itself. It is a moment of pride for the players and one of the few ways they express joy over their achievements on the pitch. For SLBC, Mohamed reporting.
From Bosori, Basamara sent the following package on how the Lyon Stars' eminent goal scorer Musa Tumbo Kamara is being praised at home by his wife, family and well-wishers.
Musa Kamara's wife, Hawa Kamara, fondly known as Hawa Tumbo, has said that her husband is poised to bringing the trophy to Sierra Leone should he be allowed to play sufficiently in subsequent matches at the AFCON 2021 in Cameroon. She said she was, however, not surprised by the first goal for Sierra Leone and equalizer at the match against Ivory Coast. Quote, "I saw it coming," end of quote. She lamented. Quote, "I sought divine intervention on my husband's behalf, and which I believe have not, or better still, will not go in vain." End of quote.
So much like, oh, he said it and he did it, because like when he was good, even yesterday around 3 I was talking to my husband. He was telling me, "Baby, I'm going to score for you, I'm going to make you proud." So this is the kind of husband like I have. Anything he said to make me proud, he will do it.
Hawa Musa Tumbo Kamara lauded the enormous support by fans of Musa Tumbo while donating the success of her husband to country and team, the Lyon Stars.
The way football is going in this country at this point in time, it really needs to be celebrated. And even the president of this nation needs to be celebrated. How I wish I have a gift, like I have something, or I wish to see him, to present to him a gift for the love and support he has shown to footballers.
Mrs. Kamara predicted a 2-goal score sheet to her husband's credit in the fate decider match that Sierra Leone will play with Equatorial Guinea on Thursday, the 20th of January 2022. Suriba Samura reporting from Bo.
Meanwhile, a low haircut is the conventional hair pattern for men, but players at the AFCON Games 2021 going on in Cameroon certainly have a different perception of men's hairstyle and color. Julian Korma has been observing different players at the AFCON Games.
VAR, I'll ask him to have a look at that again.
The 2021 African Nations Cup marches certainly have fans glued to their TV sets. Interestingly, the skillful playing of the marches is not the only attraction to the game. Players from the 52 participating African nations are showcasing different, unconventional but fascinating hairstyles. From our darling Leon stars, we have Buya Touré with what looks like a spiky hairstyle. And Jean-Michel Seri of Côte d'Ivoire brightened the football pitch with his white tinted hair. Eric Choupo-Moting, Cameroon's number 13, has a tinted mohawk, and Nigeria's goalkeeper Maduka Okoye's beautiful curly hair is certainly mesmerizing. Equatorial Guinea's Esteban Obiang and Gambia's Lamine Jallow are both in the bright white hairstyle gang. Another player at the AFCON Games who has dazzled fans with his football prowess and his sharp red hairstyle is Ivan Salvador, Equatorial Guinea's number 6. Let's not forget Viz Bozema of Cameroon with a dazzling rasta. AFCON 2021 Games is still continuing, and hopefully we would all get to enjoy the sports and the brilliant hairstyles of the players. SLBC News are Julian Kuruma.
To aid and cushion the effects of the post-fire disaster incidents at Wellington, Sporting Veterans Football Club South East London has joined a host of other humanitarian organizations to support the victims. The organization presented about 10 million euros to 50 affected persons of the disaster. Emmanuel Samora has the details.
When disasters occurs, people experience pain, but the pain becomes worsened after due to the scars that such disasters left behind. These bond structures symbolize the gruesome death dozens of people went through and serves as a reminder of the unfortunate fire incident. Family and friends still mourn their dead. Some still carry the pictures of their loved ones. They are left with emotional and psychological scars. These people can only overcome such trauma of the fire when they are properly cared for, as exhibited by veteran football players in the UK. Each recipient received a sum of 200,000 euros. It became emotional when Ai Bayo narrated how she lost 2 of her children in the fire and has only 1 child left for her.
I had 3 children, but 2 have died in the fire incident. You are not the ones that lit the fire, but you have come to console us. Wholeheartedly, we accept your offer and words of consolation.
Coach of Sporting Veteran Football Club, South East London, Ibrahim Kouma, said they decided to reach out to the victims as a result of the devastating videos of the incident they saw on social media.
From what we see the video footage now,
the game we chase promotes love. Since we saw the video footage, especially those who watched their loved ones die, we began putting resources together to come and show love to our fellow compatriots.
Having felt the impact on the victims, Mr. Kouma said he has been greatly inspired to source more support from his friends in the UK to help the victims. Emmanuel Samoa, SLBC, Freetown.
A magistrate in Freetown, Alpha Rashid Jallo, has issued a bench warrant for an alleged land fraudster. The warrant came immediately after the accused, Samuel Hanskawa, failed to appear in court on allegations of land fraud involving the sum of 75 million leones. Samuel Hanskawa is on the run after he was granted a 150 million leones bail and was supposed to appear before Magistrate Alpha Rashid Jallo of Panimba Road, Court No. 4 in Freetown on Monday, 17th January 2022. The accused, Samuel Hanskawa, is charged with 1 count of obtaining money by false pretense. According to allegations in court, on Sunday, 4th February 2018, at No. 6 Hanskawa Drive, Spa Road, Freetown, Samuel Hanskawa obtained the sum of 75 million euros from one Victor Joseph Kamara, health economist at NACET, by falsely pretending that he has 2 town plots of land for sale, which was false. Magistrate Alpha Rashid Jallo has adjourned the matter to Monday, 24th January. The Kaloko, Kalong and Lako Descendants Union Association has called for reunification of their family members for future development. The reunion brought together members of the three families from all over the country to plan more support for women, children and the less privileged in Bombali district and the union as a whole. Harold Williams has more details.
At the Pastoral Center in Makeni, leader and organizer for the three families, Dr. Yaya Kaloko, based in the USA, called on members to be serious in promoting the association. He said from humble family origins, many organizations have emerged. Dr. Kaloko said the reunion was primarily a reminder that the Kaloko, Kalon and Lako families originated from the same section of Bombali district and deserved to unite together as one family.
The main objective here is not politics. It's for us to come together as a family and work towards common goals for the have-nots and haves. Let's all put our hands on the table, come up with ideas, brainstorm and find solutions to problems that affect us all. You can be a rich person, but that doesn't mean you don't have problems. But it's possible that person that has less than you have can be a solution to your problem. So that's what we believe in.
In his brief remarks, former Member of Parliament Honorable Ali Kaloko noted how they formed their association during the tenure of his late brother, former Deputy Mayor Freetown Fuli Kaloko, but cautioned members not to include politics in the administration of their association. Honorable Kaloko stressed the need for the family members' monthly participation and financial support to help the needy children among them with their education. The reunion program initiator, pharmacologist health manager Musa Kaloko, explained how the initiative came to him to start searching for the Kalokos, Kalons and Lakos and reconnect the three families.
In 2018, I developed an idea that which I want to do the spread of my surname population, which is the Kaloko and the Lako family across the globe. So I decided to find ways and means how will I able to at least track a large numbering of this population. So I decided to go on Facebook, social media. Then I started adding friends there who bears the name Kaloko and Lako. By then, I thought it fit that I should ask them if they are on WhatsApp, communication system. Majority of them, they consented that, of course, they do communicate on WhatsApp. So I decided to ask them to send me their contact phone numbers. So majority of them, they did. We started to claim a large number, which is both and abroad.
Former Secretary General for the group, Pasantigi Kaloko, explained that the late Fuli Kaloko formed the group in the year 2000 to provide relief support to those displaced during the crisis in the country. He advised working together in good faith and with respect for elders from his belief that the three household names would work hard to transform the organization into a formal statutory group such as a non-government organization. Islamic scholars offered prayers juxtaposed aside jubilation from the tripartite family organization.
The Aberdeen Women's Association has received over 60 million interest-free loan from a local service provider, the Lamin and Kadiba Foundation. The loan is part of the foundation's project to mentor women and seek to boost access to financial capital and financial inclusion for women. Ibrahim Samora reports.
60 million loans to the Aberdeen Women Association, to Mrs. William representing all of them.
The Aberdeen Women's Association is a group of 24 women, with majority of them engaging in petty trading and sole proprietorships in the Aberdeen community. The foundation believes that interest-free loan would enhance the women economically and improve their livelihoods. The fund for the loan was said to have come from the global clothing industries implemented by the Lamin and Kadiba Foundation in deprived communities in Sierra Leone. Country Director of the foundation, Ibrahim Ba, said the Mentor Micro Women project was an initiative by the organization aimed to strengthen the capacity of women in business. and provides mentorship, training and loans with no interest to women in petty trading and other vulnerable groups.
Today we are disbursing over 60 million to 24 women from the Aberdeen community. Open a savings account for each and everyone here.
This loan distribution followed a two-day training on entrepreneurship, business development and mentorship to ensure value for money and avoid reckless spending. The Global Board Chairman, Lamin and Kadiba Foundation, Lamin Ba, encouraged the Aberdeen women to take advantage of the support. He challenged them to take the lead in the development of the country. He said the government was challenged in providing for every citizen, noting that his foundation was keen in complementing the effort of government in its development strides.
That money to be 60 million for each and every one for you in the next 6 months to 1 year. This becomes successful. You're going to have other Sierra Leoneans in diaspora who want to do it in Congo Cross, who want to do it in Bo, who want to do it in Kono.
President of the foundation, Kadiba, told the women the loan was a test case not only for them but for other needy women that might need such support. Madam Ba said she has more opportunity to offer to women across the country because they were economically challenged. Secretary General Aberdeen Women Association Sia Augusta Ngauja sees the support as a unique opportunity to empower themselves economically. She said it was difficult to get such loan with zero interest, noting that other businessmen were struggling to pay microcredit loans as a result of high interest rates from the providers.
The Administrator and Registrar General Saptiu Sako has said that in the last 2 years, the Office of the Administrator and Registrar General has undergone a series of reforms and transformations, which includes digitalization of documents, decentralization of regional offices, harmonization of salaries and review of laws and regulations relating to intellectual property, among other achievements. The Administrator and Registrar General catalogued these achievements at their first awards night held at the Hotel Karenda, Signal Hill in Freetown, and Ibrahim Samura reports.
The awards night was graced by government officials, corporate institutions, representatives from MDs, the Bar Association, and staff and management from the Office of the Administrator and Registrar General. The event was to celebrate achievements under the astute leadership of the Administrator and Registrar General Saptiu Sako Esquire in the past 2 years and recognize staff and management for their dedication and commitment to the growth and achievement of the office. Dozens of staff and aides were motivated with awards and other corporate institutions and MDAs for supporting the office of the Administrator and Registrar General over the years. Addressing an audience, the Administrator and Registrar General, Office of the Administrator and Registrar General, Saptiu Sako Esquire, attributed her successes to the cooperation and teamwork from her staff, noting that she took up a moribund office when she was appointed by President Bio.
I have succeeded in implementing the following. In a bid to track revenue generated within the office and to ensure that genuine receipts are issued to the customers, payment slips with serial numbers have been designed by the ICT units for each session. To enhance, extend and strengthen the OLG services, we have relocated the offices from shopping malls to conducive working environment by rendering ideal offices in Kenema, Bo, Makeni and Port Local. It is ridiculous to know that as an institution entering property title, we never had any to house our offices in the provinces. But my administration went at length to hold meetings with the Ministry of Lands for our current state land. It yielded positive results as our offices have been granted state lands in Bo and Kenema.
The office has implemented a monitoring system for all legal instruments by introducing an iron car seal to ensure the legitimacy of documents from the Office of the Administrator and Registrar General and cut down on falsification and fraud. Deputy Minister of Justice Omaro Napoleon Nkrumah Esquire said the government was not only impressed with the physical transformation of the institution, but also the series of reforms and structural changes under Madam Sarkoz's leadership. He said President Bio believes in the empowerment of women and their contributions to the economic growth of the country.
When we promised a new direction a couple of years ago, we definitely knew where we wanted to go and what we wanted to change. In the last 2 years, or almost 3 years of your work, we have seen clearly what it means to have a very strong and good leadership in any institution you find yourself.
Office of the Administrator and Registrar General has 7 sections: land, business, marriage, estate, gratuity, intellectual property registries, and legal affairs. Various heads use the occasion to educate attendees on the role and responsibility of sections and the reforms and transformations that have taken place in the past years. Ibrahim Samura, Freetown.
In promoting the culture of political debate in the country, the National Political Debates Committee, with support from a National Democratic Institute, has held the first ever political debate at the New Brookfield Hotel Conference Hall for women from all the 17 registered political parties. The debate, moderated by SLBC's Hawa Barry and Patrick Salia, mainly focused on the Gender Empowerment Bill 2021 and the role of political parties in its enactment and implementation from their political party perspectives. Ibrahim Samura tells us more.
13 out of the 17 registered political parties participated in the women political debates. The United National People's Party, RENEB, National Progressive Democrats Party, and the Citizen Democratic Party were absent from the debate. Political debate is one of the biggest platforms to package or sell the ideals of political parties to the electorate, and this women political party was no exception. The initiative was part of preparation for the 2023 general elections, with election management bodies beginning to engage political parties. The topic, Gender Empowerment Bill 2021 and the role of political parties in its enactment and implementation from the political party perspective, was apt and contemporary.
Our goal is to deepen our democratic culture in Sierra Leone through the organization of political debate at all levels of our governance structure, if possible. We believe that debate will help our politicians to engage one another in a respectful and responsible manner, and also keep fellow citizens informed and focused on the development agenda of political parties and political actors.
The debaters underscored the importance of the Gender Empowerment Bill 2021, stating their parties too believe in the empowerment of women. They said women for far too long had suffered from political bullying and limited access to finance, among others. Other debaters were of the view that the title of the bill should be changed to Women Empowerment Bill instead, arguing that gender encompasses both sexes. Resident Director, National Democratic Institute, Mohamed Konen, congratulated the political parties for their participation, noting that democracy is a process, stating the debate has enabled the women to give their different views and positions on the Gender Empowerment Bill. The youth debate is slated for 20th January 2022. Ibrahim Samura, Freetown. 13 out of the 17 registered political parties participated in the...
We apologize for that glitch. Many decades will pass until Africa can avoid dependency on oil and gas. Meanwhile, pollution from these sources of fuel will increase to the detriment of the environment and public health. Conservation Society of Sierra Leone is leading a coalition on oil and gas pollution to foster dialogue around this issue. A spot check at probable areas for oil pollution indicates that unregulated disposal and use of oil is becoming a problem in Sierra Leone. Harold Williams reports.
There has never been oil exploration or extraction efforts that have not had some impact on the local plant and animal life. Therefore, environmentalists are being preemptive to identify oil and gas pollution at local and industrial levels before bigger oil extraction operations could become a reality. The Conservation Society of Sierra Leone Program Officer Abdul Dumbuya said this is why their organization is partnering with foundations like MAVA Foundation through the PRCM, the Regional Partnership for Marine and Coastal Conservation, to ensure that information is brought into the public view that will reduce the impact of oil and gas extraction.
Our purpose for this morning is to see those locations. If we spot anything that is not commendable enough, that's not acceptable by every standard, we would, as a group, recommend the right standards to follow. We will talk to them, we will sensitize them about what should actually obtain. And on the other hand, if we find out that a specific location that we have visited is really the institution or organization or company is really following the rules of the game, we would commend them.
Accompanied by Princess Fomba from the Ministry of Health and Sanitation and Michael Anthony from the Ministry of the Environment. Subsequent spot checks were made at areas where there is known production of oil waste and related byproducts, such as tar and sludge. At the Kington station of the Energy Generation and Transmission Company, EGTC, the safety officer, Augustine Mansare, explained that when the newer Mitsubishi turbines replaced the worn-out Sulzer engines, over 5 years had passed since the company had allowed waste oil to flux into the ocean. Spillover drainages had been constructed to allow this to happen in the past, but when observed by the spot-checking team, these outlets were clean and free of pollution, indicating indeed that waste oil was being contained within the confines of the EGTC power station. It was unclear whether the car power ship anchored nearby was observing similar safety protocols, a question deferred by the King Tom staff to be answered by the Energy Distribution and Supply Agency and the Ministry of Energy. Similar findings were made at the Blackhall Road generation site, which was upgraded by engineers from Finland over a decade ago. Operations Superintendent Mohammed Kagbo said that their installation was not constant but a backup for the dry season when the Bumbana hydropower could drop. Due to the minimal usage, Mr. Kagbo said the minimal waste oil at the site was periodically incinerated or otherwise collected by tankers. The destination of tankers carrying waste oil from the King Tom and Blackhall Road sites was something, however, that neither Safety Officer Augustine Mansare nor Operations Superintendent Mohammed Kagbo could explain. On a previous spot check, at least one of these suspected destinations was uncovered, prompting Conservation Society to again visit the Waterloo area, where yet another site was discovered at Yewa. Right now, as I stand here, I can feel the heat from the ovens. We saw the firewood that is being used to heat up the oil, and you can see the distillation process whereby a finished product is deposited here. But as it stands now, this should be raw diesel. To confirm that, I'll have to put my finger in, and if it's too black, then it's what I'm going to hazard to see. You know, because it's no longer has that black. What's smell? Even right now, sir, if you get it. Here at the site, known locally as Diesel Compound, 8 workers were concluding their daily routine of loading the burnt oil into huge ovens where the heated products would be condensed into lighter fuel and refined up to 5 times to extract purer diesel. Speaking on behalf of his absent boss, John Forner said the diesel was useful for heavy machinery like power tillers, and the raw product would arrive in drums from sources he could not disclose, but he made references to garages that stockpile expired oil for such a purpose. Several drums of refined diesel were in view, but so too was the environmental hazard posed to the surrounding through the use of deforestation to provide fuel wood and the lack of adequate drainage and spillover containment. It was also unclear whether this operation had been granted approval by the Environment Protection Agency, as the said owner, named as Hassan Jallo, was reportedly in the provinces and unavailable for comment at the time. The Regional Partnership for Marine and Coastal Conservation and aligned CSOs, like the Conservation Society of Sierra Leone, are working together to promote the conservation of a healthy coastal and marine environment for the well-being of West African communities. Across West Africa, coastal and wetlands management is in need of cross-border alignment and harmonization of policy for plant and animal conservation, natural resource extraction, and minimization of marine pollution. Such on-the-spot visits are a way of enlightening the general public and providing evidence to engage key stakeholders and policymakers on the issues behind oil and gas pollution.
The Sierra Leone Children Empowerment Foundation for Less Privileged and Needy Children has been launched in Freetown. Jonathan Turner witnessed the launching and now reports.
Many needy children in the country experience high levels of poverty, more especially children whose educational careers are in total shambles. Low-income earning families cannot meet educational demands of their children, not having a source to provide basic amenities for their children. The recipients, over 40 less privileged and needy children, seriously lack financial and educational support. According to the Sierra Children Empowerment Foundation founder, Madam Sierra, the foundation will help solve the problem by providing learning materials and cash to the children.
School supplies, because my main goal is education, to empower the kids, especially when it comes to schooling. So I've helped them a whole lot with school supplies, financial support, make sure they have food on the table, to eat, because I don't believe in kids going hungry to school.
She added, through the provision of educational support, the vulnerable children will be able to acquire decent education, and if a brighter future of the children is enhanced through education, then they will be able to help others and develop their communities. The Sierra Children Empowerment Foundation is a non-governmental and a non-profit making organization. The foundation is presently operating in all 5 regions in the country, and they are supporting vulnerable children with educational materials, cash and health support. For SLBC News, Jonathan Turner reporting.
It's now time for some stories that make news in Africa. Kenyans online are expressing their shock and anger after reports of bodies being found dumped in a river in the western region. Activists said they had counted more than 20 decomposing bodies at Yala Hospital mortuary. Bodies found in the River Yala had been listed as unknown men, with many of them having marks of torture and tied with ropes. A local resident said he had retrieved 31 bodies from the river since July last year and that there were still more bodies in the river. Locals reportedly say the bodies are brought from different areas in vehicles and dumped in the river. Kenyans are demanding investigations to ascertain the identities of the dead and know who is behind the killings. The Nigerian government has filed fresh charges that border on terrorism against separatist leader Nnamdi Kanu. The new charges filed on Monday against the indigenous people of Biafra IPOB group leader became barely 24 hours before the resumption of his trial. Mr. Kanu is due in court on Tuesday to answer to charges of treasonable felony and terrorism, which are both punishable by life imprisonment. It is the second time the government will be amending the charges against the separatist leader. In November, he denied the charges levied against him by the authorities, including terrorism and treason. Council workers in Bio in southwest Cameroon are being compelled to attempt the ongoing African Cup of Nations football games. This is in line with instructions by the regional governor, according to the town's mayor, with attendance being mandatory for all. The decision came after many games were played in the town of Limbe with few fans attending in the stadium. Bio is hosting the teams that are playing in Limbe. Many Bio residents fear clashes between the separatist fighters and the army. The separatists who started fighting the government almost 5 years ago had threatened to disrupt the tournament but the government has assured of security. Well, that's it for African News. Let's now go over to our entertainment desk. Welcome to Entertainment News. I am Marietta Dukure. In entertainment headlines today, instead of Vuvuzela, it is, as how we call it, Pot's cover. And another victory song for Leo Stars is sponsored by the United Bank for Africa. Since Sierra Leone qualified for the 2021 African Cup of Nations, the country has been in an excitement because it is the first after 25 long years. Supporters and fans could not just use their hands and mouth to celebrate and sing victory songs, and so they found a unique way of doing so by using the lid of a pot commonly called in Sierra Leone as pot cover, which have been clinked and clattered all over the country to show our zeal to support our darling Leon Stars. Cynthia Kamara takes us through the pot cover celebration.
The pot cover pattern of celebration, one may say it's phenomenal in Sierra Leone. At first, banging two pot covers together to produce a loud sound was a means of protest, and also women used it during quarrels to intimidate others. But over the past few years, pot cover has been adopted as means of celebration, especially during football celebrations and elections winning. The cover has been adopted as means of celebration, especially during football celebrations and elections winning. The Sunday match left a sound of the pot covers in most parts of the city. Citizens parade corners of their areas celebrating with pot covers. Sierra Leoneans exhibited love and oneness among themselves. We hope that football will continue to bring us together. We are wishing our darling Leon Stars all the best in our next encounter with Equatorial Guinea come Thursday, 20th January. For SABC Entertainment News, Cynthia Kamara reporting.
As we continue to make headways, we are going to keep celebration with the pot cover. United Bank for Africa has sponsored the female rapper Natasha Suwadu Beckley in releasing a song to show their support to the Leone Stars team in the AFCON games. And I bet you that Natasha Suwadu Beckley, of course, always delivers. Now let's listen to the tip of the song.
They don't say we they wait for this chance. Papa, mama, young picking they dance. Green, white and blue clothes just go by the stands. All game now final, just love from the fans. Kick score and we get this to go. And it's a goal as the whistle they blow.
We are positive that more victory songs are going to be sponsored and released to ginger up the Sierra Leone squad at AFCON. Well, Internet, that's all we have time for. Thank you very much for joining us. I have been Maria Tudukure. Keep watching the SLBC and good luck to our darling Leone Stars for the upcoming game with Equatorial Guinea. That was entertainment. Now for the latest updates in sports.
Thank you so much, Maria Tudukure. Now for sports. Guinea and Zimbabwe final Group B AFCON match will see all women officiating team. This move, according to the Confederation of African Football (CAF), is to support the growth of women, among many other things. The involvement of women in the African game is not a new trend, but absolute control of women in the entire AFCON game is coming as an unprecedented move by CAF as part of efforts to supporting female officiators in the context of development. The final Group B match between Guinea and Zimbabwe will see the first match since the African Cup of Nations established by Rwandan referee Salima Musanga as part of effort to change the trend in the African game largely. Well, this will be an historic move according to many football pundits or the bookmakers around the world. From the AFCON story, we move to another interesting and exciting news regarding FIFA Men's Player of the Year. Robert Lewandowski, the Bayern forward, has been named as the FIFA Men's Player of the Year for 2021. Bayern forward has been consistent in terms of claiming this significant milestone. He has struck in plenty of goals for Bayern lately, and he is still doing it. According to Robert Lewandowski, he is extremely happy and is proud and happy to have claimed such recognition in the game. The Bayern forward is looking to explore more areas in terms of developing the game and equally scoring the goals for Bayern. Robert Lewandowski is very much happy for this recognition when he beats Lionel Messi and Mo Salah to clinch this all-important recognition in the game. Mo Salah and Messi, they've been tough opponent for Robert Lewandowski, but the Bayern forward is certain to maintain this particular recognition. Well, Robert Lewandowski, all the best of luck. Maria Tudukure, that's your sport.
Thanks to Abdul Kabir for that sport updates. Now to end the news, the main points again. President Biyo has ordered for the return to jail of Bimba Moifere, aka LAC, and Mr. Moifere was among 160 people granted the prerogative of mercy at the start of January this year. Residents of mining communities in Kono have complained of a frequent armed robbery. And the Africa Cup of Nations 2021 in Cameroon has so far produced some of the most fascinating goal celebrations and hairstyles. Well, thank you for watching. Stay tuned to the public podcast at the SLBC if we can. I have been Maria Tudukure. Good afternoon.